Hello, in this glyph screencast, I'm going to show you how to draw the lowercase f. Lowercase f is an ascender character that indeed does go up to the ascender height. We don't know yet or actually we do know what an ascender is because, sorry for that, we have the h, so we've decided on what ascender height is going to be. These ascenders are very tall, actually, I think, in this typeface. But that's fine. That's the design we are going with. So what this tells us is that this is how tall our f is going to be. Now the lowercase f uses elements from a t, so it uses this basically the same crossbar stroke, and it needs a foot like the bottom of the h. Oh, I shouldn't edit this character though. I need to bring that in. It uses a foot just like the bottom of the h or the I. In fact, the lowercase I would be the best character to use. And by the way, this is a refresher, but I'm not sure actually if I mentioned using components in a previous video. So what you just saw me do when I brought the I into this glyph for the F, what I did was I control clicked or right clicked on a mouse and I went add component. And when I go to add component, what it does is it gives me a searching index bar. And what I do is I search through the font and I can bring in other letters into the font that I might want to implement. So for instance, I brought in the E. And right now this is actually just a ghost of the E. It's not active. I can't edit it, the Bezier curves. But if I double click on it, it takes me back to the origin glyph, which is the E. And watch what happens though. If I change this E here, it changes in the component. So it's just a link to that glyph. Be careful, I don't want to ruin our E that we drew, that I drew there. But that's what you saw me do. It's just a quick way if you don't want to have to type out the letter and find it. If you know you have it, you can just grab it very quickly. Okay, for F, what we need to do is borrow parts from a couple of different areas. And one thing with F, we're going to follow the same kind of pattern that we've been using in terms of that top terminal that it's going to have. I'm going to just use this termination because we started using it and it just fits the mold because it needs to have some kind of termination. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this branch shape on N, and I could have used the H one too. And I'm going to cut the shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up to the ascender height. But what I should do is I should actually copy this global guideline and set the guideline up here. So just like the overshoots and undershoots, I know where the ascender height starts. But I'm going to get rid of this H because it's going to be difficult to work with. All right. I'm going to leave the T there. The T, actually, it's good that I designed this F so that it won't crash into that. Now with a type design like this, where I have an F that's modulated, I'm going to blend these, whoops, I'm going to blend these together. Now I don't really care about this side. I can even just get rid of this for now. But what I do care about is how this is modulating. With this F, what you want is if you're thinking about how do you write this character with a broad edge pen, you would start up here, technically, and you would go over, translate down, and then end at the bottom, and then make your crossbar stroke. In fact, this is a good thing to do now. Let's actually just do this. Let's cut this, and let's cut this, and let's get it to be the same. Now, this spur should probably be about the same size as this T-spur, but I don't know yet how wide this should be. That really depends on a couple of factors. In fact, this serif should be a bit longer on the F because I've got to account for this white space. In fact, on the F, this might be a little bit narrower. And I need to give this a little bit more space for now. Okay, now blend that. Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. I was button mashing. All right. That's a good starting point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this top terminal of C. Okay. But it's going to change a little bit. I think what we need to see on this character is that it needs to get heavier at the top. So it's modifying. You notice that we're borrowing parts from characters, different characters that share the same parts, but it does have to, things have to change based on where I'm using these parts. I'm not crazy about this style of F personally. I would do something where it was actually more of a kind of flowing shape on this one, but that's okay for now. Maybe I'll show you that variation and then how that would actually change. You know what? Let me do that. I think that for this type design, a shape that looks more like this. Sorry. I think a shape more like this suits this design better, personally. And let's see. Yeah. Okay. So we're getting the rough kind of shape in here that we want. I think it needs a little bit more stability, which this will give it. And okay. And this weight right here should be similar to this weight. Right now it's definitely heavier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this up a bit more. Yeah, that's better. It doesn't have to be mathematically the same, but it overall should be the same weight. Okay, now what does this do? This changes the way that I'll treat the terminal of the C, that's for sure. If this is my F, I'm going to now cross-reference. Now you might say, okay, you're doing this on the C, but would you not do this on the S? And that is where I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to do that on the S, because on the S, if it has a shape like this, it's not going to have enough strength on the X height or the baseline. The C can get away with it because its primary strength is when it hits the bottom, but it has this heavy bottom. The S does not have that. So I think that it works best if we treat those two shapes differently, and the C is going to get this kind of treatment of a terminal, but it's okay if it's different than the S. That's actually not a problem at all. This will probably work better for the C as well, we'll find. Yeah, well, let's just leave that alone for now. Maybe it needs to be a little bit wider in this design. And then I'll pull it back. And I think it could stand to be a bit heavier. Oh. It's leaning a little bit now, too much to the right. Okay, that's good for now. All right, so that's the